When I first introduced Miranda to our marriage counselor, Dr. Hale, I honestly thought it would save us. It had been 6 years of rising arguments and cold silences, punctuated by moments of passion that felt more like desperate attempts to hang on than genuine love. I'd always thought the idea of therapy was something only weak couples needed, but when Miranda broke down in tears one night, confessing she felt like a stranger in her own marriage, I swallowed my pride and booked our first appointment. Dr. Hale's office was warm, almost too cozy, with shelves lined with psychology books and plush chairs that invited you to let your guard down. The first few sessions were awkward but hopeful. Miranda, usually so guarded, opened up more than I'd seen in years. She laughed softly at his jokes and cried without turning away when he asked her questions about our relationship. At the time, I thought it was a sign of healing. Looking back, maybe it was the beginning of the end. I remember one evening, after a particularly tough session, Miranda asked if I could drop her off at a cafe near Dr. Hale's office so she could journal and decompress. She kissed me lightly on the cheek, promising to see me at home. That became a pattern more and more often. She'd linger after sessions while I rushed home, hopeful that the work we were doing would bring us back together. It was subtle at first. She seemed happier on days we had therapy, almost glowing when she came home. She'd smile in a way I hadn't seen in years, her eyes distant, dreamy. I mistook it for progress, convinced the counseling was helping her rediscover herself, and by extension, us. Then things got stranger. Miranda started dressing differently, more carefully, more seductively on the days we had sessions. Once, I came home early from work, only to find her in the bathroom trying on lingerie I'd never seen before, humming a song I didn't recognize. When I asked, she brushed it off, saying she was trying to reignite the spark between us. I wanted to believe her so badly. A week later, I walked into Dr. Hale's office for a solo session he recommended. He said it would help him better understand my perspective. As I sat there, I noticed a scarf draped over the back of his chair, one I recognized immediately. It was Miranda's. The delicate, lavender silk still smelled faintly of her perfume. When I pointed it out, Dr. Hale smiled softly, said she must have left it behind after our last session, and that he'd meant to return it. His voice was calm, almost rehearsed. That was the first time something inside me shifted. But I shrugged it off, wanting so badly to believe we were fixing things. The next week, our anniversary came. Miranda asked if I could reschedule our dinner because she needed time to herself. She promised we'd celebrate another night. I agreed, but the hollow feeling in my chest wouldn't go away. That evening, unable to sit still, I drove by Dr. Hale's office. His car was there, lights glowing inside despite the late hour. I parked across the street, telling myself I was being paranoid. But then I saw her car pull into the lot. My heart sank as she stepped out, straightened her dress, and disappeared into the building. I sat there for hours, gripping the steering wheel, the night pressing down on me like a weight I couldn't shake. When she finally emerged, it was well past midnight. Dr. Hale walked her to the car, his hand lingering on her lower back a second too long. They spoke softly, faces inches apart, their laughter drifting across the empty lot. When he leaned in, I saw him kiss her cheek, but it wasn't a friendly peck, it lingered intimate, familiar. I felt like I was going to be sick. The next day, I tried to confront Miranda. I asked her point blank if there was something going on with Dr. Hale. She looked me dead in the eyes and laughed, a soft, sad laugh. "You're being paranoid," she said, brushing past me to the kitchen. "He's our counselor. He's helping us." But her eyes told a different story. They were guarded, almost cold. From that moment, every session felt like a performance. Dr. Hale would guide our conversations with a smug calmness that made my skin crawl. Miranda barely looked at me, her eyes flicking to him when she answered questions. I started dreading therapy, each meeting a torture where I felt more like an outsider to my own marriage. One afternoon, desperate for clarity, I confided in a friend who worked in IT security. He helped me install a small recording device in the car Miranda used for her sessions. I hated myself for it, but I needed the truth. The first 2 recordings were mundane, filled with radio chatter and phone calls. But the third made my blood run cold. I sat alone in the dark, headphones pressed to my ears, listening as Miranda giggled and moaned softly in the back seat of the car. Dr. Hale's voice was unmistakable, low, coaxing, intimate. They spoke of the thrill of secrecy, of their plans, of how he'll never understand you like I do. That night, I couldn't sleep. I watched Miranda lie next to me, her breathing slow and even, her face peaceful in the moonlight. I wondered if she ever looked at me the way she looked at him. I woke before dawn, the house quiet except for the soft ticking of the kitchen clock. My mind was a storm of rage and heartbreak. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard their whispers replaying in my head. I knew there was no going back, whatever illusions I'd been clinging to had shattered. Miranda stirred as I got dressed for work. She mumbled a sleepy, "See you tonight," but didn't open her eyes. I stood there for a moment, watching her, trying to reconcile the woman I fell in love with and the one who betrayed me. In that moment, the distance between us felt infinite. At work, I couldn't focus. My boss pulled me aside to ask if everything was all right. I lied, saying I wasn't feeling well. I spent most of the day in my car, listening to the recording over and over, as if I could force a different outcome if I just heard it enough times. By the time I got home, I had a plan. I called Dr. Hale's office, pretending to be Miranda's assistant, and scheduled a private session for her that evening. When Miranda came home, I told her I'd made a reservation at her favorite restaurant as a surprise, just her, no therapy, no talk of our problems. She lit up, almost like the old Miranda. I watched her get ready, curling her hair, applying makeup with meticulous care. It was like watching a stranger dress up for a date with someone else. As soon as she left, I followed. My hands trembled on the steering wheel as I watched her car weave through traffic, heading not to a restaurant, but directly to Dr. Hale's office. My heart pounded in my ears as I parked a block away, careful to stay out of sight. Through the office window, I saw them, Miranda in his arms, her head resting on his chest as he stroked her hair. I forced myself to stay put, every muscle in my body aching to charge inside. Instead, I pulled out my phone, recording every moment, proof of what had been happening behind closed doors. Finally, unable to bear it any longer, I walked up to the door. I didn't knock. I opened it, stepping into the room where my marriage had died. They jumped apart like startled children. Miranda's eyes went wide, mouth opening but no words coming out. Dr. Hale looked more annoyed than surprised, his face hardening into a mask of calm control. "Ethan, what are you doing here?" Miranda finally managed, her voice trembling. "I could ask you the same thing," I said, my voice quiet, almost calm. "But I already know the answer." Dr. Hale stepped forward, his tone smooth and patronizing. "Ethan, I think it would be best for everyone if you left. Miranda and I were just—" "Don't," I snapped, cutting him off. My hands shook as I held up my phone. "I have everything recorded. Every word, every moan, every lie." Miranda's face went pale. She sank into the chair, burying her face in her hands. Dr. Hale's expression darkened, but he kept his voice level. "That's illegal, Ethan. You can't use those recordings." "Maybe not," I said, "but they're enough for me. Enough to know what's been happening." For a moment, the room was silent except for Miranda's muffled sobs. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to shake answers out of them. Instead, I found myself strangely calm. "How long?" I asked quietly, looking at Miranda. She lifted her head, mascara streaking her cheeks. "I don't know," she whispered. "A few months. It happened. I didn't plan it." Dr. Hale stepped closer to her, placing a hand on her shoulder. That small gesture nearly broke me. "Did you ever love me?" I asked. Miranda's eyes welled up again. "I did. I do. But it's different now." Different. That word rang in my ears like a death knell. I turned to Dr. Hale. "You're supposed to help people, not prey on them. How many other couples have you done this to?" He opened his mouth, but I cut him off again. "Save it. You're a parasite." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay composed. "Here's what's going to happen," I said. "I'm leaving. Tomorrow, I'm filing for divorce. Miranda, you can do whatever you want, but don't expect me to protect you. And you, I said, glaring at Dr. Hale, if you think I won't report you to the licensing board, think again. I walked out before they could respond, the door slamming shut behind me. I spent that night driving aimlessly. I parked at the overlook where Miranda and I had shared our first kiss, staring out at the city lights until the sun began to rise. The grief came in waves, sometimes burning hot with rage, sometimes cold and hollow. By morning, I knew what I needed to do. I called my lawyer and started the paperwork. The recordings, though inadmissible in court, gave me the resolve I needed. My lawyer said the affair alone would tilt things heavily in my favor for the divorce. A week later, Miranda tried to reach out. She left tearful voicemails, sent long emails apologizing, begging to talk. She said Dr. Hale had convinced her it was the only way to reconnect with herself. She claimed she realized too late that she'd been manipulated, that he had used his position of authority to make her believe she needed him. I didn't respond. I couldn't. Whatever the truth, the damage was done. Word of Dr. Hale's affair spread fast. I wasn't the only one who went public, another couple came forward, then another. A formal complaint was filed, and within weeks, his license was under review. By the time my divorce was finalized, he had resigned from his practice, his reputation in ruins. Miranda moved in with her sister for a while. Friends told me she looked like a ghost, thin and hollow-eyed. I'd be lying if I said it didn't give me a grim sense of closure. It's been a year now. I still live in the house we shared, but I've redecorated almost every room, erasing the remnants of our old life. Therapy, real therapy, helped me make sense of everything, but it's the little victories that remind me I'm healing, laughing with friends, cooking dinner for myself without feeling empty, waking up without dread. Some nights, the memories return, seeing them together, hearing their laughter. But more often now, I feel a quiet peace. I don't know if I'll ever trust someone so deeply again, but I've learned to trust myself, to know my worth, to set boundaries. And that's enough for now.